defining what you want in life is not the easiest thing in the world to do, right? And so if I give a blank piece of paper to two individuals and ask them to write down exactly what they want in life, you know, one person could say they feel too constrained by the amount of choice that's available to them. Another person might say that they can't define what they want because they can't see beyond the constraints that they have in their own life. So it's about understanding yourself as much as anything. And I suppose an easier way to start is to say, okay, what do I not want? What are the things that I'd like to remove from my life? And you know, there's a great piece on YouTube. Matthew McConaughey talks about this idea of defining the person that you want to be or who you want to be. And you know, he says, look, that's not easy to figure out who you are, but at least you can start with maybe figuring out who you don't want to be and maybe taking some of those bad habits out of your life. And I think that's what we need to do in terms of thinking about what we want in life. It's about maybe looking and goes, well, I definitely don't want that. And you know, I can give you plenty of personal examples in my own life where I kind of just stepped back from the situation and said, well, I definitely don't want this. I'll give you one example. You know, when I was, just about turning 35, I was head of investment consulting in a company in Ireland. And you know, each Monday morning you typically have these meetings in the boardroom with the senior leadership of the company, and each person would have to discuss their specific area. And you know, they weren't the most exciting meetings in the world, but I remember sitting across the table one morning and I was kind of looking around and kind of seeing, you know, there's people 10, 15, maybe 20 years my senior if you go to the CEO. And I just kind of stepped back from the situation and thought, this is not what I want. I don't want to follow this exact same path and be here in another 10 to 15 years, because that's what tends to happen in life. You're in a job, you're doing okay, and all of a sudden 10, 15 years has passed and you're still there and you're retiring after doing 20 years service in a company, right? So I remember looking at the situation and saying, okay, well, I'm almost here 5 years. I've almost created as many challenges within the company that I can kind of take on and new projects to take on. And now I'm looking across at everybody else around me and saying, okay, do I want to follow this exact same path to be sitting here in 5, 10, 15 years looking back on, you know, well, that's what I did with my life? I was kind of looking at it and saying, well, there's too many opportunities out there to just sit back and do this for the rest of my life, or for another year, or for another 2 years, or for another 3 years. So that's where I kind of looked at it and said, this is what I don't want. I'm taking a decision to resign. And then when I thought about what I was actually looking for, it was that sense of adventure again. And that's why I moved to Latin America, had two main objectives: to learn Spanish and to immerse myself in the area of impact investing. So I had a sense of purpose in terms of the adventure that I was taking. Traveled all over Latin America, but that became the starting point, I suppose, for my next adventure and start my own business, because I always wanted to do my own thing as well. So there's I suppose that idea of trying to figure out what you want. I'm going, yeah, okay, it'd be great to have some more adventure, but it also helps to understand what you don't want, and looking around at your own particular life situation and saying, well, we only have one life and this is not what I want right now. And then it comes down to taking the actions that you need to take, to following through and actually taking the decisions to actually achieve what you want. And so taking that adventure, you have to obviously resign. You have to accept the opportunity cost of giving up that security and embarking on a much more uncertain path. So that's where the action part comes in. And what I have seen through my own experience in the corporate world is that I meet a lot of people that say, oh, I'm gone in 3 months' time. I'm gone in 6 months. I'm not happy here. But they never actually take the decisions to put them on the path that they want to be on. So that's what it all comes down to. You can kind of set whatever life goals you want and figure out what you want, but it all matters for nothing if you're not willing to take the action whether it's putting in place the plan to achieve the financial means to follow through on those life goals that you set, or actually going ahead and saying, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to resign from this area and move into this specific area. You have to take the actions. That's what it ultimately comes down to.